Welcome, Dr. Gabor Maté, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you.
Dr. Dr. Matt, today humanity is in a state of shock at the Israeli crimes committed on a daily basis by Israel against the Palestinians in Gaza. For you, we can explicate the traumatic for humanity, for the crimes.
Well, the it's one of the most horrible things I've seen in my whole life. Um, to see the daily killings reported on the social media, not so much reported in the mainstream press, but still, and to see it going on day after day after day after day for 15 months now, and thousands of people dying, children being killed, being orphaned, being wounded, the starvation, the homelessness, the disease. It's I've never seen anything like it in my whole life. It's horrible, and it's traumatic for a lot of people just to watch this. A lot of people around the world are in a state of shock every day, um, as to what it's like for the people actually experiencing it, the Palestinians, the Gazans, the children, the families, the mothers, the fathers. I can't even imagine it. It's terrible. And then there's not any words anymore. I mean, there's no words you can say anymore that will do justice, that'll adequately explain or respond to the horror. It's beyond words.
As an addiction specialist, there are those who believe that Netanyahu and most of his current government are addicted to violence and occupation, and they represent a real threat to the essence of Judaism.
Well, I don't want to explain political events through medical terminology. What Netanyahu and his crew, his cohort are doing is very typical of any colonial regime. If you're going to take over a land and displace and oppress the local population, you have to become very cruel. You have to become very violent. You have to become very relentless. You have to become very inhumane. And we've seen this in history over and over and over again. They are addicted to power, they're addicted to control, and they will commit whatever violence they have to in order to achieve their goals. But we've seen this in history over and over and over again. And as long as the world allows them to succeed, they're going to keep doing it. In fact, they're going to get more and more vicious over time, as they have. In terms of Judaism, it's got nothing to do with Judaism. It's got to do with racism. It's got to do with colonialism. It's got to do with control. Whether the colonist is Christian or Jewish or Muslim or Hindu, it doesn't matter. They all do the same thing. So they say that they're doing it in the name of the Jews and the Jewish people and Jewish history and Jewish tradition, but that's a lie. It's not true. It's not true. It never was true. And many Jews, right from the beginning of Zionism, were opposed to it. Many Jews, more all the time, are opposed to it right now. The majority right now still believes in it, but that's not unusual either. If you look at any country, most people, most of the time, will accept the ideology of the ruling system, and they won't question it. So many Jews are like that, but larger and larger numbers, especially amongst young Jews, are turning against Zionism. That's going to continue to grow. So it's got nothing to do with Jewishness. It's got nothing to do with Judaism. It has to do with the nature of any supremacist colonial system.
Humanity failed to protect the Palestinians. Is it a defect in values or in institution?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Humanity failed to protect the Palestinians. Why? Why for you?
Why for me?
Yeah.
Well, anybody who's interested in justice or truth will speak out on Palestine. So, you know, I've done this all my life. So during the Vietnam War, when I was a student at university, I was part of the movement against the Vietnam War for the same reasons. Same reasons I supported the civil rights movement in the States, although I'm in Canada. In Canada, the indigenous people have been displaced and oppressed and really badly treated. So I've been working with that for decades. So it's the same issue of human freedom, of human dignity, of human justice. Now, being Jewish and having been a Zionist in my younger days, I have a special feeling about what's happening in Israel, Palestine. I really care about it, especially since they're saying that they're doing this in the name of the Jewish people, and I'm Jewish. So I'm saying, no, you're not doing this in my name. But really, it's not any different from any other issue. If you care about apartheid in South Africa, if you care about freedom in Latin America, if you care about justice in your home country, wherever your home country is, you're going to care about justice in Palestine, Israel. So that's why I care about those things.
Israel today is killing Palestinian children. Even a child who survived the physical killing by the bomb will live dead from the horror of what he saw.
Are you asking what's going to happen to these people in the long term? Is that what you're asking? Yes. Well, we know what's going to happen. There were studies of Palestinian children over 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago, Palestinian children in Gaza and in the West Bank under Israeli occupation, highly traumatized. 95% of them had traumatic symptoms. And terrible as the situation was 20 years ago, it's much worse now. It's been getting worse every year for the last 20 years. And in the last year and a quarter, since October the 7th, it's been unimaginably worse. So these children are going to grow up with terrible traumas, terrible mental health issues. It's going to be very difficult for them. And especially since the Israelis have completely destroyed the Gaza healthcare system. So not only are these children being hurt physically and emotionally, psychologically, but the system that's supposed to help them has been destroyed. It's going to be a miracle to rebuild the healthcare system in Gaza, to give these children the emotional support and healing that they need. It's unimaginable. No, I think the Palestinians have a lot of resilience. They have a lot of capacity for strength, but it's still going to be a miracle. And they're going to need a lot of help, even after the war is over, whenever that is over. And Israel is going to continue to impose control and terrible conditions on them for a long time, even after the bombing stops.
Dr. Matt, can we say that the West is Israel partner in this massacre against Palestinians people?
Again, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
We can say that the West is Israel partners in this massacre against Palestinians.
Look, without the West, without the colonial West, there'd be no Israel. Without the colonial West, there'd be no Zionism. It was the British Empire who decided over 100 years ago now that it can use Zionism as a way of maintaining its control over the Arab world. And they were very clear about that. Winston Churchill said in 1920 that the establishment of a Jewish entity in Palestine is in the best interest of the British Empire. And so it was the British that permitted, until the late 1930s, who permitted Jewish immigration, who encouraged the growth of Jewish institutions, and who suppressed Palestinian institutions, who suppressed Palestinian resistance, who destroyed the Palestinian national movement, who at the same time allowing the development of Jewish self-governing institutions in the Jewish army. And then it was the French who armed Israel after 1948. And after that, it was the Americans. And since 1967, it's been the United States that it's been arming Israel. Israel gets more aid every year than all of Latin America put together from the United States. This has been going on for decades. So it's not just the current massacres that the West is supporting with the media that doesn't tell the truth, with the politicians who lie about it, who fund the Israeli army, who protect Israeli diplomacy. It's not just the current massacres that they're supporting. They've been supporting the whole project for 100 years. And it's the same countries, France, Belgium, Germany, England, Australia, Canada, the US, who destroyed the indigenous populations in their own countries, as in North America or Australia, or who colonized Africa and Asia, like the Dutch, the Belgians, the British, the French, the Germans. They're the same ones who are not supporting the colonial project in Palestine.
Do you believe that one day justice will do justice to the Palestinian victim?
I'm sorry, again, what's the question?
Do you believe that one day justice will do justice to the Palestinian victims?
I'm sorry, I just didn't get the question. Can you? Do I believe what? Sorry.
That one day justice will do justice to the Palestinian victims, to Palestinian people. One day we build justice to Palestinian people.
Will there be justice for Palestinians? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, one day, but I don't know when. Look, history changes, you know. France and Germany used to be terrible enemies. No, they're not. They killed millions of each other's citizens, hundreds of thousands in the First World War, for example, in the Second World War. Not anymore. So anything is possible. But what is not possible is for Israel to remain a racist state and to have peace and justice at the same time. So for justice to happen, Israel has to become not a Zionist, racist, supremacist, apartheid state. It has to become a democratic country. And for that to happen, a lot of things will have to change. I can't see it happening anytime soon.
My last question, do you still believe in a possible peace between the Palestinians and Israelis after Gaza?
Well, again, I just answered that. Yes, I do, but not as long as Israel is a colonial, racist country. So that country will have to change. And that means that the world will have to force it to change, because on its own, it's not going to. So I think peace is possible in theory. Peace would have been possible a long time ago, but it's not possible as long as Israel is a expansionist state that's designated. Everybody says Israel is a democracy. Well, there's an Israeli historian, Shlomo Sand, who says that Israel is not a democracy, it's an ethnocracy. It's a state of a certain people who are claiming superior rights to the other inhabitants. As long as that's the case, peace is not possible. So no, Zionism is not compatible with peace.
Finally, I would like to thank you to your person and for your commitment to humanity, Dr. Gabor Maté. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Goodbye. Shalom.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.